Speaking of memories, so you know how if you have an iPhone, I don't know if other phones do this too, but like it'll tell you 1 year ago today, right? Or on this day is X amount of years ago. So I had one that came up on my phone today, and it was the pictures that I took the morning after I had found messages in the person who I was married to at the time. I found messages in his phone from another woman of them going out on dates or whatever they were talking about. And I look at the pictures and I remember that feeling of like just feeling so hollow and like, again, betrayal. Like betrayal had been something that was a huge part of my first marriage. And it took me even still a really long time to walk away from that. And this was the first real tangible thing that had happened in regards to betrayal in the second marriage with the father of my kids. And I mean, there had been like little things like messages that I had seen on like Instagram DMs and things like that. But this one was like pictures sent and like they had met up and all this stuff, you know. And I've talked about this before where, okay, so what happened was we went to go take family pictures at JCPenney. We used to have this tradition where we would go every summer and we took family pictures. And it was so chaotic and it was hot. We did it in the summer because that's when his daughter, who was my stepdaughter, and she was here for the summer, so we would go. And he would always be so frustrated and angry, and I'd be over here trying to get everybody ready and calm and like whatever, and it was just a shit show, complete shit show. But we had the pictures. We got the pictures, right? And we went to go take the pictures, and we came home, whatever, business as usual. I'm asleep. I get woken up out of my sleep by God knows what, literally. And I have this just undeniable, like, I just feel so compelled to go look through his phone for no reason at all. Like, I didn't have any suspicions. I wasn't thinking about looking through his phone. I was like not even in that energy whatsoever of like feeling insecure, like it, nothing like that. And I was like, okay, you know, I'm really intuitive. I've been like this my whole life. When I get a nudge like that, I just usually follow it if I'm wise. And I did. And I opened up his phone while he was asleep. It was just on the bed laying there. And I went into his text messages and I found a whole thread of messages with this girl, and she had sent him pictures and they had like gone out on a date or two. I don't even know. And so I got out of, like, first of all, when I first opened it up, like, this was not my first time experiencing betrayal from a man who I was married to, right? And when I mean betrayal, I mean like just all of it. And so that re-triggered all of that in my body. First of all, just like, oh my God. And then I'm thinking, oh my God, like, we're married, we have kids together, like a million things are going through my head. My stomach sinks down to the core of the earth, and I just, like, the whole rug is just like ripped up from under me. And I take the phone to like the kitchen or something like that and just kind of look through everything. And then I'm just like getting pissed at this point and in shock and super just like beside myself. I don't remember how long I was over there for, but eventually I come back in the room and I don't remember if I threw the phone at him, but I like made him wake up and I started like just confronting him about the shit. And he's like confused and like upset, and then he like understands what's going on. And then we go into like the kitchen because the girls' room is right next to there. I don't remember what happened basically that night. And he's just I remember he like tried to deny it at first, and then he tried to turn it around and like make me somehow to blame for this. And I was like, bro, first of all, unfortunately, this is not my first time dealing with this shit. Your shit is not gonna work here. And I remember a couple nights, actually a couple months prior, I was taking him to the gym, and I had the girls, and for whatever reason, we were on the topic of my ex and how I had gone back to him, and eventually, like, we got divorced, obviously. And he's like, out of nowhere, he was just like, oh, but you wouldn't do that now because you have kids now. Like, you wouldn't be able to do that. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, what the fuck? Like, if anything, I would do that more quickly, because I'm not willing to play with my daughters standing as witnesses to me. I'm not willing. Like, before, it was like I stayed in that relationship for 3 years on and off, and we had broken up and gotten back together like 50 times, quite literally. It was so terrible and toxic and destructive. And like, he knew all of this, and he was like, basically, like, you're stuck here because you have kids. And I was like, absolutely the fuck not. Like, you think that I'm gonna let them witness that shit show, me going through all that with anybody? With, like, absolutely not. And I didn't even think about it at the time that, like, he was taught, like, it wasn't even in my headspace of like that he would be doing this. But ironically enough, I was dropping him off at the gym, and I don't remember why, but like, he met this girl at the gym, right? And anyways, a couple nights before I found the messages in his phone, I remember we hadn't really been like physical, obviously. Like, when something like that's going on, obviously there's a big disconnect. And I know that relationships are co-created, you know what I mean? I know that I had been unhappy with him for a very long time. Like, there was abuse and all this stuff, and like, I don't do well with people who don't treat me nicely, you know what I mean? And it was what it was. And honestly, I didn't want to be in the marriage anymore. So like, I get that he was looking for things somewhere else. But we had been together like a couple nights before that, and I'd never had this experience before. But like, my body, like, I wish I had been like, you know, let's stop and not do this right now. But I acquiesced to it because I didn't want to seem weird. I didn't want it to be awkward. I didn't want him to be upset. But like, my body did not want to be touched by him, did not want to be in that intimate act with him. And it literally felt like the closest thing I've ever experienced to having non-consensual sex. And not to like blame him, because I didn't verbally express this to him. I was fawning and forcing myself to engage in this act with him when my body was like having a visceral repulsion to this. And I think my body knew. I think our bodies are so wise, and our energy is so wise. And I think my body knew that like, this is not a safe interaction right now, emotionally, physically. Who knows what kind of shit has been going on? Like, this is not safe for you, and we don't want to be doing this right now. So I thought that was really interesting, like, just the innate wisdom of my body in that moment. And I was looking through the pictures that came through on this day last year, and I was just like, that's so crazy. Because the next day I got the proofs of the JCPenney family portraits in my email, and I remember just looking at them, and I was just like, damn. Like, I knew we weren't the happiest, but I didn't know we were here yet. I didn't know it was this bad. And all the feels. I remember I went that night after I found out. I was like, I gotta go. I need some space. I need some time. I left him with the kids, and I went to the coffee shop, and I went to go write, because that's how I process. And I was gone for a few hours, and when I came back, I think he had put the kids to bed already, and we hadn't talked yet, and he was in the room, and I finally was like able to like say something. And I was pissed. I was just really quiet, and I was like, I will never forgive you for this. I hate you, and I will always hate you. And I should have walked away because that was true. I never forgave him for that. And while I don't like actively hate him, like the love that whatever you call it, that I ever had for him before that, never came back. It never came back, even though I kicked him out, got rid of all his shit, threw away all of our pictures. And I took the girls out to Whole Foods one day, and I was like, come get your shit, you don't live here anymore. And he did, and he saw that I had thrown away all of our family pictures and pictures of me and him, and he just like broke down, and he like started begging and making all these promises and like all this shit. And I didn't take him back right away. He was staying with his mom for a little bit, and he started going to church with her, and he was like, I'm reading this book by this guy, he's a Christian guy, something about the beast, like, and it explained how men had Megan Good's husband, he had or ex-husband now, he had a book where he talked about like his inner beast, and like how all men have this and you have to tame it and whatnot. And he just like really fed me all this bullshit. And I don't know that I believed it, but I think part of me wasn't ready to separate our family. I think it wasn't him. Like I was not attached to him, you know. My heart had already been so shattered by his abuse before that like there was no love there for a long time. And I was actually thinking about this yesterday, which is ironic. I forgot what I was listening to, like a podcast or something, and I remember how when I was processing this, like his mom called me and she would talk to me, and I was like, I think I want to write about this and like share about it online, because I processed through writing. You know, I had been writing about like the journey to Nevaeh's story, and I was just on a really like open space of sharing. She's like, well, you probably don't want to do that because you don't want to make it public and put all your business out there. And I think it was just a way of like protecting her son, you know what I mean? And what I thought was kind of bizarre was that she told me that her and her daughters, who are his sisters, obviously, that they found the girl's like Instagram page, and that they looked through it, and she's like, she ain't shit, like all this stuff, and how like she's like, you're much prettier, blah 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 blah. And I was like, that is so bizarre to me. Like it had never even like occurred to me to like look her up and like compare myself to her, because even in my first divorce, where he had been with this girl on and off for 3 years, got her pregnant, induced a miscarriage for her, and then got her pregnant again at the end, only he didn't. And other story. What was I saying? Oh, I remember he always like wanted me to like fight for him and like fight the girl or something. And I was like, bro, this bitch, she doesn't owe me shit. Like, you're the one who made vows to me. I never understood that, why women like fight other women. Like, I mean, I get it to a certain extent, but ultimately, like, why the fuck would I fight for a man? Why would I fight for a man if you're not gonna be here and you don't want to be my man? Like, I would just look like a fool trying to fight some other girl and trying to convince her that like you're my man. Like, bro, no, if you're my man, I shouldn't have to tell somebody. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck? And so I never had like beef with the other woman, because I was like, bro, this is not about her and me. This is about you. Anyways, I just thought that was so bizarre that like that was her response of like, oh, you're so much prettier than her, you're so much better. I'm like, it's not even the point. That was frustrating. That was so frustrating. Anyways, on this day 7 years ago, that happened. And honestly, not that wasn't even the worst part of our relationship, to be honest with you. I think he got stuck on that a lot afterwards, trying to rebuild trust. When I would communicate things of like insecurity of like, for example, like him being at the gym, he just didn't understand how that triggered me when that's where like he met her. And he refused to help repair the trust that he had broken. He was like, this sounds like a you problem. I was like, okay, bet. I hear you, you know? And it was a problem that I didn't create, but ultimately I ended up fixing for myself by getting a divorce. And it's what I should have done that night when I came back and I said, I will never forgive you. I hate you and I will hate you forever. That would have been the kindest thing that I would have definitely done for myself, but also the kindest thing that I could have done for him. And just split ways there. Even the hard experiences, I think for me, I have to look back on them and reflect, however difficult it is, because I know I hold on to a lot of it. And even especially prior to like the last couple years, a lot of that never has gotten a chance to be released until more recently. And so whenever it comes up, I'm like, okay, here's the story. This is the process. And, you know, I may or may not share this. I'm enticed to share my story, regardless of what it looks like, what it makes me look like, what it makes other people look like. Because one, I feel like there's a freedom for me there. There's a liberation in me, not just speaking my truth, but also in sharing my story publicly. Like, it's no longer the burden for me to carry the shame around this. There's so much shame that women especially carry after a man betrays them, chooses another woman over them, cheats on them, whatever it is, infidelity at whatever level. And most of the time, at least for me, I hid in isolation, and that's why things like that were able to carry on for so long. And that's why I share my story, because that's my liberation. Because before, I kept quiet. I was really private. I didn't want people to know. And honestly, it almost killed me. I was half alive for a long time, and it was really dark and heavy times that I carried most of it by myself, and that makes it 10 times heavier. And also because I feel like, unfortunately, these are really common experiences that are relevant to a lot of people. And I think, like, I don't know, if I had something like this that I saw at the time and I was in the middle of something like this, I think it would give me at least exposure to a different perspective and like food for thought of like, huh, okay, interesting, you know? Yeah.